tell you one less. I don't wanna be more than no, I will not. You can try and no more, so you can kill my child. All the times that I'm sober, still got my pedal through the metal. Told you I'll be a mogul, I tell you one less. I don't wanna be normal, so you can stay inside. That's why they say that you're local. You see, this world is mine. I'm not even your hope for them time. I'm taking more down low, then I will show them one more. So I tell you one last time. I don't know what's so hard. Can you get it through your mind?
Welcome to another exciting episode of Peak Free Society. My guest today is an emotional strategist, Reiki master, sound therapist, yoga, and meditation guide. She founded the E.I.P.L healing. Every individual person love healing. The one, the only Kathryn Eiple. Kathryn, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Kathryn, why don't you tell everybody a little more about yourself? I mean, we already got over just a touch everything, but who is Kathryn the person?
Yes. So Kathryn is somebody who has overcome a lot of different struggles and feats. Like most people, I've had run-ins with anxiety, bouts of depression, and when I was going through a very tough period of depression for myself, I was also navigating, having existential thoughts of like, well, what is life? Am I supposed to be doing this line of work? And at that time I was working in entertainment. And I also started a dependence on drinking and using cannabis to help me cope. So I, developed those addictions. And it wasn't until I had gotten fully immersed in a yoga practice and took a yoga teacher training where I really started to examine, like, wait a minute, I'm using alcohol to avoid feeling. And so what happens if I stop using it? And as a result of slowly stopping drinking, all of these feelings, all of these memories came back of things that I had done or that had happened to me that I was just suppressing because I didn't actually want to deal with them. And they were just living in my body. And so I took that as a sign to go even deeper in my yoga practice. I started working more with cognitive behavioral therapy exercises as I have a background in psychology, and that part had always appealed to me. So I started using that to help rewire some of my own thoughts and really get to the core of where these deep-rooted emotions were coming from. And as a result of doing that for myself, I slowly started doing that for clients because initially I transitioned from entertainment into the health and wellness world, and I was doing just teaching yoga classes, meditation, and then slowly it just started morphing into more coaching work. And then I realized people were coming to me to work through emotions more specifically.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how you got into emotional strategy, though. That's interesting of a topic. I've never had that yet so far on this show. So I found that to be very fascinating when I saw that. So is that how you got into it, though? That you started finding a lot of people are coming to you with that emotions and you're like, well, maybe I should start discovering this avenue to see what more I could do for them?
Yes. And it was also a combination of the fact that I didn't have an emotional strategy for myself growing up when I was facing all those issues. Like I did grow up in a house with addiction and also mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And those things weren't talked about as a kid. Like we knew that they were around, but we never as a family had conversations about them. And I think most people grew up kind of just sweeping things under the rug or just not acknowledging them. And through my own process of healing and discovering who I really was, who I really am, I learned that I actually needed to work with my emotions and not try to suppress them and not let them run the show. So it became something of like, well, how do I use this anger? How can I process this in a healthy way? Okay, well, now I've moved through that and I have this deep well of sadness. what do
Mhm.
I do with this? How can I get through this part? And then I think it's one of those things. It's like once you start doing it for yourself, then people can recognize it in you and they start asking you questions. So simply because I was doing it on my own, that I think is what led a lot of people to start inquiring. And then initially, when I started coaching, I was working with relationships, people in relationships, people coming out of divorce or heartbreak. And I saw the common theme of that is like people are just misinterpreting emotions or letting their emotions cause a reaction rather than processing the emotion and
Mhm.
responding.
No, I agree
So then I
100%.
Yeah, and that's what caused the shift because I was like, "Okay, well, people actually really just need to learn how to handle their emotions and what they can do to support them," because there is that stigma of like, "Oh, emotions are bad. I don't wanna feel sad. I don't wanna feel
Right.
angry." It's like, there are no bad emotions. It's just they're here to teach us something. So
Yeah, I
what
don't wanna
is the
feel the
lesson?
feelings. Yeah, I don't wanna feel the feelings, or I don't wanna accept the feelings, you know? A lot of times with grief, that's the big thing too, is like you don't wanna feel those feelings because you don't wanna feel that sadness because then you don't know what to do with the sadness. Or, men, we're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to cry because you can't feel
Right.
emotional because it makes you less of a man and all these other things. And it's just like it's this old school world thinking that's just not working anymore. And people I think now are little by little realizing that, and I know that a lot of people are trying to mostly teach kids how to mostly regulate at an earlier age. I've had a guest on the show. She has a children's book. That's what she's aiming for, is that it's for the kids, but then it works for the adults as well, because the adults are reading the books to the kids anyways in the beginning stages, if you think about it. So technically, you're teaching both of them because now the parent's teaching the child what this book contains, and the book is teaching the adult the same thing as well, some things that they never learned before at that point, and it's really not shocking, honestly, because especially with my anxiety like that too. It's hard because like all my feelings are all over the place, and then my depression comes in, and it's like I feel like a giant black hole is just swallowing me in, kind of thing, and it's so easy for people to tell you, "Hey, listen, cheer up." I'm like, I wish that's how it works. Unfortunately, it's not how this goes. Hey, calm down. Well, yet again, I'm glad that's how these are great advice you have for me. Doesn't work for me though.
Right. Like, if you're really depressed and someone's like, "Oh, well, just, like, think about the positives." It's like, I don't think you understand that when someone is going through depression, there absolutely are no positives in how
Hmm.
they're thinking. Like, they can make something that someone who's not facing depression in that moment would say is positive. Maybe it's the sun is shining and they'd be like, "Yeah, the sun is shining and I feel dark and cold inside. So why is this thing taunting me?" You know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's really more of, okay, well, like, share how you're feeling.
Yeah.
How can I
Well,
support you?
Well, Catherine, you got to remember though, a lot of people don't want to listen to when we share our feelings, especially when it comes to like suicidal thoughts as well, going down that road of, like depression, and you're really down in the dumps, and then you start sounding like that. People start panicking because they don't know what to do with these. Oh God, what do you do? You're talking kind of crazy, and they're making all these assumptions and things, but it's like, I'm just trying to tell you how I currently feel. I need you to shut up and listen. It's basically what you want to tell them. But most people just don't get that because they're too quick to react to everything, and they're so reactive of everything that you say, or they tell you, "Oh, well, that's not the right time to discuss this. We'll talk about it at a later time." Well, I'm sorry. Let me calendar this for you. And for when I want to tell you my emotions feel the way they do, I'm sorry. Let me put them on hold for you because fuck that. I'm sorry. They just fucked up your day. My bad. It's just like it drives me crazy though when people say it, because my own situation was like that too. Because my story though, it's like I was there 4 months ago. I had the plan, and I tried to talk to her about it, and she told me essentially that said exactly what she said to me. Said, "Oh, well, this you chose the wrong time to talk about it." "Oh, I'm sorry. Let me put these thoughts on hold for you. Why I'm really much teetering on the edge, and I'm trying to tell you I need help, but you're just too busy right now. I'm sorry. You fuck my feelings, And then it was just like, oh, then it was the comment of, you make me the 13th reason why. It's like, why do you think that idea makes sense to you? And then their explanation was, well, I wanted to scare you. I think you don't realize I'm at that point where it doesn't matter what you're saying to me. I'm not listening to
Yeah.
anything else. I'm hearing what you're saying and like, okay, you're just validating my feelings that I don't feel like I'm worth enough to be here anymore, and just go ahead and go for it. Like telling me to make you the 13th reason is not a great idea. And they were strongly trying to argue this point. I was like, I was done. I had to get out of there. I couldn't do it because I was if I'm on that point of that edge and I'm coming to you to talk to you, and that's how what you say to me, it's like, no, that I got to get out of here because if not, I'm not going to make it out. I'm going to be another statistic on the leaderboard of this whole thing where suicide stats are. Anyways, I'm not trying to be another statistic there because I came to you for help like I'm supposed to do. But then what did you do? You told me that oh, it doesn't fit in your schedule today. Go and reschedule it for another day. It's not how it works.
Right. And I think there's also like a to that point when you present your emotions to other people and they're very strong or considering, suicidal ideation, a lot
Hmm.
of people don't feel like they are trained or capable to hold space for somebody who's feeling that way. So then it's like they get scared in themselves because they're the world in which we grew up in, and I feel like it is slowly changing now, they didn't really talk about emotions. They didn't talk about how you share your emotions with others. There was no emotional education. So now I love that there's, your guest that you were talking about that has the child's book that's teaching people how to work through emotions, and it is great for adults. So this is something that I think needs to have more
Hmm.
prevalency in our society because if you have someone or volunteer to be a support network for your friend and they come to you with feelings of depression, suicide, you kind of do just need to drop what you're doing and be there for them in that moment. Like, yes, it might be inconvenient, and yes, it might be an inopportune time, and, like, they have chosen you as a safe person, which is a big deal.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. No, that's the thing too. It's like you're choosing to tell you these things. You're letting people know that, hey, I'm trying to tell you something. You need to actively listen to what I'm saying to you. I don't care if you say anything else, it's always that quick reaction of they want to try and save everybody. And it's like, I don't want you to save
Mhm.
me. I want you to shut up and listen to me. That whole thing we back to listen to what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you my thoughts. You may not understand them completely. They're going to scare you a little bit, but these are the thoughts I'm currently having. I want you to know. There are options like, 988 if it gets to that point where you feel like it's
Mhm.
that bad, obviously call and be there with them. Don't abandon these people because, if it's anything, you don't want to make them feel like that is going to happen because that'll cause a whole nother spiral of things happening, because I was abandoned at 10 and my mom just dropped me off on the doorstep, and I've been dealing with that for all these years. I'm 40
Wow.
now. I've been for 30 years. I've been dealing with a lot of the problems. I didn't realize that's why I was so angry of a person because when I got into those situations, I'd go back to the moment, but I wouldn't live the same moment. I'd feel the feelings in that moment and I get hypersensitive and I try to push the person away before they could leave me because of the minute I feel like that's what's going to happen, that's what my first natural reaction was to do. So,
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm sorry
yeah, it's a
that
lot
that
of,
was
I
your
know.
experience, and kudos to you for finding and recognizing that it's those emotions that are pulling you back into that space because, uh, I'm sure
It
you've
took a
heard of
while.
the Yeah. It and things like that, they don't just go away in a day or an instance, and that's something that people also need to understand when you have a friend going through things like that is like, okay, they did one thing. That doesn't mean that their problems are fixed or their emotions are gone.
Yeah.
It's a process. And so it's time to be gentle and give grace both like to the person working and to the people around them.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't make them feel weird either, that's the other thing too, it's like you always, like, try to kid glove them, and it's like, "But I don't want you to treat me differently, I just told you how I feel, it doesn't mean make me feel weird about telling you about it," it's like, it's just I don't know why people do that though, I mean, I get where there is the generational gap thing happens because the people are like, "Oh, well," I get my parents, I can't come and talk to them about that, my parents don't have an idea that I was on the edge 4 months ago, and I haven't told them yet. So I'm kinda working towards that because it's coming up in these episodes coming up, and I don't know if they listen to the podcast, they say they wanna support it. I don't think they really understand that the things I deal with on a daily basis, I haven't told them, and it's hard to talk to them because I feel like they'd make it really weird afterwards, they'd make me feel like I'm really weird and they'd be on, like, high alert for no reason when there isn't. the reason to be on high alert because I'm doing the steps I need to do. I have a therapist, I have an emergency plan in place, I have all these people I can call. Like I'm doing all the right things I need to do. I just feel like if I tell them, I feel like they just wouldn't get it kind of thing, you know? And it's like that's my biggest fear. Someone's like, you better tell them before someone else hears this and tells them. And I'm kind of like, I'm sitting on the edge of this question of just like, should I tell them? I shouldn't. I'm like, I'm gonna eventually break down and tell them about it, but at this moment, I'm not ready to tell them yet about it because I just feel like when I do tell them, it's gonna be an interesting conversation because I don't know how they're gonna take it. Like, I don't want them to sit there and worry about like if they say something wrong to me that I'm gonna go and that's gonna be the thing that pushes me over the edge because that wasn't the case. That's not the reason why I was having these feelings. And it's one of those things I definitely need to address, but it's like I keep pushing it off, and I know it's probably not the right thing to do it, but I do it at the same time, and I just know it's gonna come full circle eventually. So, that's the current debate in my head I have right now while I'm doing all these other things while I'm recording the show and, all that other kind of stuff. So,
Thanks for sharing that. I think, it's courage. And also, I feel like you'll feel when you're ready to tell them.
yeah.
And you can also frame it. You were already using that, these words earlier of like, hey, I want to tell you something. It's going to be a little bit heavy and
Yeah.
hard to hear, but like, know that right now in this moment, I'm okay. And I've worked through these things that I'm about to tell you. But because you are family, I really want to share this with you.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be like, "Hey, mom and dad, guess what? I'm on the internet talking about how I had thoughts of taking myself out of the picture." Yeah, probably is not a great way to start a conversation with them. Maybe not. It's like, but I'm like, I live with that, like that fear sometimes because I want to talk to them about it, but at the same time, it's like you said, eventually I'll know when the right time is to talk to them about it, and just sit them down and be
Exactly.
like, "Hey, I want to share this with you before you get the secondhand information from somebody else. This is on the internet already, regardless of the fact of anything. It's just how I am. I'm just real about things. I have no problem sharing these things. At first, it was a little harder to talk about it, but as I started recording the show and I got further into this thing, after like 100 episodes, I started opening up a little more because people kept asking questions about me. And they're like, "Oh, what about you?" Everything kept coming full circle back to me. So I was like, "All right, well, I guess it's time to start cracking the shell open and start telling people a little more. And then it got easier to start talking about it. And it just felt a lot better and a lot, the conversation as I continued to do it, it got so much easier. And then like when we got to episode 200, it was just like, I was just okay with that. I was like, fuck it. At this point, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'll tell you the whole, I just give people a rundown. The people that don't know my history, that haven't listened to any of these episodes, they don't have any idea what goes on. And, I kind of reference it back to let them know that I've been there for a lot of these people, in this space that I'm creating is because like I've been there. I know what it's like for some situations. I haven't been there for everything, but trust me, when I say I was there for a lot of it, I can know how you're feeling. And it makes me more comfortable because like, I don't interview. I have a conversation with people because the conversation flows a lot better for me versus just
Hmm.
kind of drilling you with questions. Because I could sit here and ask you 20,000 questions, but it's just not my style thing. So,
Yeah, and I think the world needs more realness around these topics
hmm
because they're seen as taboo or bad. So it's like, oh, we can't talk about them. It's like mental health is serious. If you don't have your mental health in check, then it makes the rest of your life harder because if you're struggling in any area of your mental health, you're not going to want to show up for your friends, your family. You're not going to put your all into work. You're not really going to be a functional member of society. So it's like in America, our system's a little bit backwards in that way because we're like, okay, well, how are you being productive? How are you contributing to the society? And it's like, whoa, first we got to take care of us. We got to
hmm
take care of the
hmm
individual. And a big part of that is talking about it, having these spaces. That's why I like your podcast because it is so real. It's raw and it's authentic, and that's what life is. It's not polished. It's not like, okay, well, I'm going to go through my cue cards and ask you all these questions. Our
right,
life
yeah,
isn't scripted. And it wasn't until I really started working in the mental health field because I work at a addiction recovery center in San Diego, California. So it wasn't until I really started doing that that I got more comfortable not only talking about my journey, because at that time, like, yes, I had talked about it a little bit on the internet and was like sharing about it with some of my friends, but I also got a lot better at holding space for people as they're talking about depression, anxiety, thoughts of suicide, because when you develop an addiction, it's not like, it's because I want to drink this or I want to
Mhm.
smoke, I want to do this. There's a deeper reason, there's a bigger trauma that is causing the addiction. And so, in that space, when people are substance free for a week, 2 weeks, a month, that's when all of these feelings and remembrances of past situations that they've been in come up. It's like, oh, that's what I was avoiding, so it's time to work through that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think it's interesting though, because everybody always wants to give an addict a hard time too. Like if you guys have a relapse and things like that too, and then they want to sit there and guilt them. There's a guy I know that I talk to personally all the time. His girlfriend struggles, and I told him, I said, do not, whatever you do not give her a hard time. If she relapses, just let it. Just understand she's trying. It's hard. It's hard for you to sit there and say, okay, just stop doing this. Well, look, we all know that doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I know that's everybody's quick draw response is, "Okay, well, just stop doing it." Well, it's not. And don't give her a hard time when she messes up, be there for her because understand she's struggling. She's probably beating herself up harder than you are. And you could probably contest that too as well, though.
Yeah, and those are wise words to share with somebody, and relapse is actually part of the healing process. Same with when you're working on managing anxiety and depression. It's like you might go months of feeling great, and then all of a sudden, like, there's an intrusive thought that comes in and it creates a spiral. It's the same way with addiction. You could be sober for months, and then one thing happens and it's hardwired. It becomes hardwired in your system because the chemicals in your brain have now uh, started to process like what it feels like to be on your chosen substance. So chemically your body's like, oh, we need this and we'll feel better.
Yeah.
And
No,
so
I agree. No, I agree.
relapse,
I agree real quick, Catherine.
yeah,
I want to
go
point out
ahead.
really fast what you said about the going months. I was okay for months after that incident, and then it got worse, and then it got better, and then the last 2 days I've been experiencing this experience where like I'm asleep and then I wake up in a complete panic, almost in a state, almost to the edge of a panic attack. Like my heart will start racing. I'm just laying there, and all of a sudden my thoughts are racing for no reason, and it's nothing that did it. I was sleeping, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
my shit just jumps, and I'm just like I couldn't figure out what it is, but it's been something I've been working through the last few days. And it was just like that though. So like you're right when you say like that because I was fine for a bit. I had it under control. I had all the different tools in place, and then all of a sudden the last few days it's just been like all of a sudden. Like randomly, I'm dead asleep, and all of a sudden I'll wake up in a state of like I'm to the point I'm about to go to the edge of a panic attack, but I'm not there. Like I get that racing heart sensation for me. I'm just sitting there, my heart's going 1,000 miles an hour, but there's nothing wrong. I'm in a complete safe space. There's nothing around me. It's just me. I'm just laying there, and all of a sudden, my thoughts are racing for no reason. So I just wanted to say that really fast.
No, thank you for sharing that. And that's a perfect example of what I was speaking into because as you're working through that, those periods like having like it happened months ago, it's come back, like that window of time is going to become longer of when it comes back. And then eventually it won't come back to the degree like, it might come back here and there as you might recognize those thoughts because you've had these thoughts for so long, and you'll be able to redirect and work through it faster as you go on. So once like, my point in that is, like, any sort of, relapse, whether it's emotional or substance, it becomes like you're building a muscle of how quickly can you get back to where you were, right? It's not about shaming, because anytime we put shame or guilt into it, or even start like questioning, like, well, what's happening? Because I was doing so good.
Hmm.
You're you're like pouring salt on the wound rather than trying to close the wound because you're just like racking your brain. You're giving yourself something else to spiral out about as though it's your fault. It's not your fault. Like, these things happen. Some people are more prone to these emotions because they've just had other situations happen in their lives. They've faced other traumas and experiences. And a lot of these things happen when we're kids, when we're teens, and we don't know how to process those things when we're that young. And so we just like pretend or tell ourselves, like, oh, it's normal. I don't know. And then it's once we're in our young adulthood where we start questioning these things like, is this normal?
Right.
This can't be normal.
Yeah, yeah, because we were never taught how to tell what's not normal, what's normal, and things like that. So that's why I say that we need to talk to these kids younger and start teaching them to identify these things so they can say something sooner before it gets bad. Obviously at the age where they start really, we can really start kind of getting them to understand little by little what it is they're feeling. What are these feelings you're having so you can describe it to somebody because I think that's the hardest part for a lot of them is they don't know how to describe what they're feeling. They just like know, oh, I know it's a weird feeling. That's all I know. I don't know how to tell what this is, and I think if we
Mhm.
teach them emotional regulation at a younger age, maybe we can help them have a better outcome for the end and they can identify these things sooner before they get to such bigger things as, some of these other things they can develop into, like there's a wide spectrum of things that's wild, like BPD, for an example. I have a partner now I'm with, she has BPD. So like it's like explaining to other people that don't understand what it is. It's interesting because they're like, what does that even mean? I'm like, you have to basically explain things to her in a different way because she doesn't understand, and she'll tell you the same things. Like, you have to explain these things to me. I don't understand these certain emotions that you're having. So you have to
Mhm.
describe it to me. And to people that don't get it, it's like you can tell the ones that get it and the ones that do get it though, because you're explaining that to them. They're like, well, why didn't she understand? It's like the number one question. Well, why didn't she get that? Because she doesn't think of things the same way you do. That's why I'm saying she doesn't have the normal thought process that we do. So you have to explain it to her differently, and you have to take the time to explain them to her. And in that sense, a lot of people don't want to do that though. And my thing to her was just like, just because you're different doesn't mean that you can't be cared for, that someone can't care for you. It just means you're going to have to do a little more work to do it. So, I've been studying different things and looking around, asking her questions of how I can be better there for her in a supportive sense. What can I do better to help you? Talk me through some of these things, and it's interesting because she's not used to it because most of her previous partners were never like that. They always try to take advantage of the whole thing. But for me, it was just like I'm trying to learn what I can do better, and she sees that and she's very appreciative of the fact of
Beautiful.
that because it's hard because and she'll constantly remind me it's gonna be hard. I don't care. I didn't ask you it's hard. I asked you what can I do for you now? You know what I mean? Like, but it's
Right.
it's always fascinating to teach people when they don't know, and then the light bulb goes on there. And, oh, okay, that's interesting. Now it makes sense why she has reacts to certain things and doesn't react to certain things because she doesn't understand the emotions you're having. So you have to explain it to her as if she's like a small child almost. You have to kind of explain to what it is, in a sense, but you don't treat her like a child. She's not stupid by any means. She's a very intelligent woman. She's very smart. Her IQ is very high. It's just you have to just break it down with anybody. Like anybody that's neurospicy too, as my
Yeah.
friend Dr. Kristen likes to say, you have to just process. They do things in a different manner. So asking them, hey, listen, how can I help you? Is the thing that it's probably the best thing for you to do is say, hey, listen, how can I approach this so it's better for you to understand it? And a lot of people don't want to do that though. That's the thing. They don't want to put that extra work in. And then it's like, okay, well then stop complaining then. You can't expect them to think of everything in the same way you do if they don't understand it the same way you do.
Exactly. And that's a beautiful form of communication that you have with your partner where you're able to both help each other and work through that because you're right. That's something that a lot of people won't,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, take the time to do. But that's like true emotional growth. And also, that is helping you gain a strategy in the future for how to talk about certain things or how to move through a situation because you're both learning insights into how each of you function and how you process different things on a cognitive level.
Hmm.
And that's something that, like, I'll do with my friends too and my partner because I'm a little neurospicy, and I know that. And so I know that, like, sometimes the way that my thoughts go don't make sense to what a person would say is normal.
Yeah.
So I'll be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, so when you said that, like, I know that this is, like" just to give you context of, like, where my thoughts are. When
Yeah.
you said this thing, here's the, like, chain reaction that happened in my head. Logically, I know none of that is true, but, like, sharing my emotions right now is what's coming up. And so then it's just like, okay, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's a little bit more like, "Oh, wow, those were little dark thoughts, okay." But then it's like, okay.
But they're your thoughts, though. I mean, that's how you're thinking,
Exactly.
and the fact that your partner's willing to listen is awesome too, because it's just like, at least he's willing to listen to what you're saying. Like, he gets it. But other people around you, they're just like they look at you different. It's like, okay, well, if you have a question, just ask. That's what I used to teach the kids that all the time. I told my daughters that before. I said, don't stare at people with disabilities. Go ask them what they have if you're really that curious. Like, don't stare at them. You're not at the zoo. You're not staring at animals. Don't make them feel like that. They already know they're different than other people. They don't need you to make them feel that way, and that kind of thing too. So I used to make them go there and ask them about it. But I do love that though, that you're so open. You want to teach people that, because that's the thing too, is that people just don't want to listen. And that's why,
Mhm.
that's the thing we keep coming back to, is that listening, that part of listening, especially in your situation and her situation, is like, I'm learning as I go. And I had one of my top 5 guests on the show. She's actually an expert at BPD. I told her, I said, Lizzie, if I have to email this woman, I said, I guarantee she'll send a message back to me. Like, I'll email and ask her, hey, listen, I got a question for you. How do I handle this situation? If I have to go that far, and she's seen that, and I know it means a lot to her, because she's told me, I really appreciate the length that you're going to. And I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's like I understand on a deeper level than most people do. And then maybe that's what it is for me, doing these interviews and meeting different people and meeting other people at BPD, and asking their experiences and things. It's interesting because each one of them have their own perspective of how they're handling their own. And it was always interesting because I had somebody come on, she's a musician, and she had way she explained it was way differently than, say, she explains it to me, which is fine, because that's great, because I have another avenue. I've learned of different ways it comes up and things like that. That way I can teach people, like, hey, listen, this is just different. Everybody deals with it in things different ways. And that's always the moral of the story for a lot of that stuff for people. It's just like, just because you may have the same thing I do doesn't mean you process things or do things the same way I do it.
Exactly. And that's what I think more people are starting to realize is that there isn't just one way to do something, there isn't one way to process. And every individual has their own process. That's also why I named my business Every Individual Person is Love Healing, because no matter what the person is going through, what they're struggling with, at the end of the day, like, they're trying their best to heal and they're looking for love, whether that's love for themselves, self-love, love for their life or their surroundings, or love from other people, right? So it's like that gives a commonality
Hmm.
of, like, we're all human, we're all individuals. You and I have a different background. But I hold no judgment, right? And I can tell you're not judging me. And
Oh
that's
no.
the common ground of like how people should start approaching each other is just removing any sort of judgment out of it and saying, okay, like I'm here, I'm ready to hold space for you. I can tell that you're going through something. What do you need from me? Do you want me to help you kind of troubleshoot and look for answers? Do you want me to just be neutral while you talk about your feelings and listen? Do you want me to reflect back the feelings that you're sharing in my words to see if I can understand truly how you're feeling? So it's creating that within a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a partner, or just your family, right? Anyone you interact with. And that's what I also
Hmm.
encourage and remind people to do. Like I had a client who was actually just a Reiki client. We weren't really doing coaching work, and their goal was to put themselves more into the social community because they just felt very isolated at that stage in their life. And in our most recent session, he was confiding in me that he's like, I'm doing all the things. Like, I'm putting myself out there, I'm talking to more people. I'm like trying to work on like rebuilding some of my familiar relationships.
Hmm.
And he finished his thought, and I just looked at him. I was like, are you listening? are you listening to these people? And it was like that light bulb moment where he was like, of course, I need to listen. Like, that's huge. And so since that moment, like his social life has actually flourished now.
I was gonna say, listen, just hook 'em up with me. I got 'em. I'm a good networker. I get a lot of my friends call me the master networker because I tend to meet a lot of people when I do the show and things like that, and then I send them off
I
to other
bet.
people's podcasts. I meet a lot of people, like I said, like, and so I have no problem. I can start conversations with anybody at this point, and it gets easier though. But that's awesome to see though that it was working for him because yet again we're back to listening. That's the
Mhm.
thing we keep coming back to. People just like, hey, just listen. It's like just listen to people. Sometimes the feedback people give you can help you approach it differently. Maybe you misunderstood something you say. There's a young man I was just talking to because I'm very active on TikTok. I was live right before this point, and he had talked something similar about that. He was like, "Yeah, I feel like people don't listen to what I'm saying." And I said, "Listen, maybe I understand." And he's like, "You get it more than most people do." I'm like, "Yes, I do, because I'm listening to what you're saying. Because a lot of times what you're saying, I can identify some things, right off the bat of like where this conversation may be heading to." And he was saying similar things, like the same thing like your client was saying. It's like he was talking, but he's not really listening to the feedback, or people are misunderstanding him because he has one side of his brain was slower than the other, and he's struck.
Right.
I don't see the point of that. Like when people try to get into an argumentative state, I'm just like, okay, well, come back when you calm down, because at this point, there's no point of talking to you because you're not going to listen to anything that's being said in either side of the story, and you're going to get mad, I'm going to get mad, and then at the end of the day, we're not going to listen. We're going to get nowhere, and then what are we going to be? We're going to look like two idiots because we're sitting here huffing and puffing at each other for no reason.
Exactly. And trying to pick a fight or get defensive with somebody who is sharing, like, very vulnerably how they're feeling in that moment is not gonna end well for anybody. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, right. No,
So
exactly. I agree.
yeah, and I think what the more appropriate response is, like, if like, say you're sharing something with me and I start to, like, get reactionary and wanna fight, the better response would be like, "Hey, I understand that you're going through something, but, like, I need a few moments to myself because like,
Yeah,
I am now reacting in a way that, like, isn't actually about you, but something you said
yeah.
has triggered emotions in me, so
Mhm.
I need to, like, self-regulate for a minute before I can, like, be there for you again."
Yeah, we ran into the issue the other day. She's like, "I need some space," and I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna go do something. I'm good. Like, you know where to find me." And she was so shocked by the fact that I was just like, "Okay, you take your space. You're good. I'll go do something else." Like, and she's just not used to it. And I get it that her history has just been so bad. And at this point, she doesn't know what to do. She tells me at times, she's like, "Well, you're just too nice. I don't know what to do." I'm just being me. Like, if I'm too nice, it's just that you're not used to someone treating you like a person that you are. I'm treating you as an individual. I'm letting you, have your own feelings. You're upset. If you get upset, you need space. Okay, cool. You can have your space. I'll go do something. I'm a big boy. I can go figure out something to trust me. There's 10,000 other things I need to work on. I can go do and give you that space you need, but you know where to find me, and then I'll drop at the moment's notice if you need something, and that's the other thing I told him, like, if you need something, like, call me, I don't care, like, message me, I don't care, it doesn't matter, I will instantly drop something for you if it's that big of an emergency. And she's so taken back by that because she's like, I don't know what to do with all this niceness that you're doing. I'm like, is it niceness, or is it just like me just treating you like an actual person? Like, I'm being your partner in this situation. I'm not making you feel like you're different because, that's how everybody else has treated you. And I get it. Like, and then she does the apology thing a lot of times. I let her just say it because at this point it's like, that's just how she, reacts to things. I'm like, I don't make her feel bad about it either. And it's a learning process. Is it frustrating at times? It can be frustrating. Yes. It is. It gets frustrating, but it's at the same time, it's like, she's been through a lot, and I know what she's been through. I've listened to the stories of shit, and it's just like, wow. And to me, it's just like, I get it, but it's like, I'm just being me. At the end of the day, I'm just being Pete. Like I'm the same person you guys see on this camera as I am off the camera. The only difference is that, if you come to me and try and test me in any way, don't expect me to be like, oh, well, because you run a mental health podcast, you're going to be a doormat. You've got the wrong person. I'm not that one. Like, you don't have the right person there because I have the right to defend myself. And that came up in a conversation too. It's just like, people feeling like, since I run a mental health podcast, they're like, well, you have to act a certain way. Outside of this space, I'm just Pete, the normal person. Like you can come up to me and talk to me at things, but you're not going to disrespect me. Let's say what it is at the end of the day. You come disrespectful to me, I have a right to defend myself. I don't have to sit here and take your verbal attacks and things like that. Expect me to defend myself. Don't sit there and try and say, oh well, you run a meltdown podcast. You can't talk to people like this. No, that's not what's happening here. You've challenged me and attacked me, and I'm defending myself. It's not has nothing to do with what I do inside this space when I'm recording things. This has to do with the fact that you came to me in whatever fashion, and I'm just responding to what you're doing. Now, I'm not going to give you that pleasure of completely going off the rails like you want, because 10 years ago, that Pete would have done it gladly. He would have gladly gave it to me. Now, I don't have time for it. I don't feel like I need to waste the energy arguing with you about things, because to me, it doesn't make any sense. I don't see why I'm going to get upset with you when it's not worth it to me. Will I get upset and protective of the things that I love and things I care for? Yeah. Oh yeah. Believe I will. But at the end of the day, don't think that you're going to take one over on me just because I record this podcast doesn't mean I can't defend myself as a human, that's the thing too, and it's like, and especially with social media, it's like, I told her, like, when we got together, I was like, I hope you know, like, I'm everywhere. Like, my life is on the spectrum. People know everything about me. So, like, I just need you to understand that my life is on a magnifying glass. People see me every day. I watch this show around the world. People are watching me in other different countries and things like that. I am the same person. And she said to me, she's like, well, I went under a side account and was checking out to see if you're really who you are. I'm like, okay, all right, well, great. I got stalked. That's awesome. I love it. But I mean, I get that I get that too, because I see what her defense was after hearing a lot of her background story and things like that too. It makes sense though. I could see why she would take that approach and things like that. But she said that's what was the thing that she says she saw the same exact person. I'm like, I'm just Pete. Listen, hell, you can Google me, you can chat GPT me. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere you can find me. I'm the same exact person you see in that camera every single day. You walk up to me in the streets, I am the same guy. I have the same level of compassion for people, but and things like that too. So
And that's
sorry.
beautiful
Yeah.
because you just want to be who you are,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
and that was one of the things when I was working in entertainment where I felt like I was a facade of this person, as I felt like I was supposed to act a certain way and
Yeah,
present a
exactly.
certain way and dress a certain way. And I was like, this feels weird. It feels like I'm putting on a character, like I'm playing a
Mhm.
role
Mhm.
to do this work life. And I was like, I just want to be who I am in
Yeah.
life and have that be okay and acceptable. So
No, I
I
get
think
that completely.
yeah, I think it's great that you are who you are. You're Peter on this podcast, on and off screen. Like that's in my world, that's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
Like we're here to be people. Everybody is different and let's embrace that and not try to label each other or put people in boxes or
Mhm.
use the preconceived stigma that society has placed on people with addictions, mental health, right? Like, it's time to just dismantle all of that and break it down because everything's a spectrum. And so, where are
Yeah,
you on that spectrum?
I'm in the box, like that taped up box that looks like UPS kicked it around a bit, because I can't be contained in a box. Like, I'm just me. Like, outside of this, I am a wild person. I say wild things sometimes. I'm just me at the end of the day, and that's the great thing about it, is that it's just the authenticity of like who I am is I think is
Yeah.
what attracts people to me. And when I'm doing the show, I've learned a lot of things about myself. I did a lot of energy healing and things like that. I've done all that kind of stuff. I've gone into that area because I'm energy sensitive. So I've been kind of honing that a
Mhm.
little bit too. So it's been fun to play around with that when I discovered that whole scenario
Cool.
stuff. But I've had a lot of interesting experiences recording this show. Like when I say my life is on the spectrum, like there's an episode I did when I did a star chart reading where you literally know everything about me. It's like, and her biggest concern was just like, she was dealing with something that she's like, I don't want to have blowback. I'm like, what blowback is there going to be? I have nothing to hide. I'm literally everywhere you can find me. Like there's nothing I haven't told people that they don't know about already that hasn't been said on some show, because I've done a bunch of different interviews. Hell, I've been on Canada TV. People up there know me. So it's not like people don't know anything about me. And that was the thing too, so So, Catherine, we're at the fun part of this interview. I don't know if you've ever watched any of these episodes. There's two questions I ask every single guest that come into the studio. Okay. So, the first one I actually stole from a friend of mine. She is actually the host of a podcast called The Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. So, her
Oh,
question to me and
fun.
my so my question to you, and the same question she asked me was, so Catherine, if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be?
My gosh.
It's a good one,
That's a
isn't that? So I
great
know it's a great one.
question. I love that. I'm gonna have to use this question. Let's see. If my mental health had a song, what would it be?
Now you can break it down however you want to as well too, because you can give
Mhm.
several different. If you have several songs to break it down, like mine, for example, mine used to be what was it? The intro to Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That constant state was my anxiety. Now this is going to
Mm,
sound pretty fucked up for the song name, but it's by Bad Omens. It's called Artificial Suicide. It's this. It's just that constant strumming of the song. You know, I know the title's off
mhm.
putting to people. So, and then my depression would be either turn the light on or yeah, Leave the Light On, Talk Away the Dark by Papa Roach, or A Different Kind of Pain by Cold. You know, and I broke it up like that differently because it's the two opposite spectrum. Because my anxiety is like this and my depression's like that kind of thing, and it kind of makes sense to people. But like I said, the other one's title kind of off puts people a little bit, but it's the
Yeah.
fact that it's
I
just
could
the song flow though.
yeah. Well, I feel like when I'm in those moments of, like, sadness and feeling like no one can fix me, the song "Fix You" by Coldplay would be
Mm-hmm.
that part for
Okay.
me. But then when I'm on the up and I'm working through it, the song, it's called "Worth It," and it's by Abel Hart, and if you've never heard of that artist, he does a lot of, like, positive, upbeat mantras in with his raps, and he syncs it to a certain hertz level to get that energetic vibration in. So "Worth It" is meant to be more uplifting of like, "Hey, no, you're worth all the things that you wanna have in your life." And then I also feel like there are moments where the song "Stand By Me" would be,
Mm-hmm.
an anthem for me.
There you go. That's a good one too. Yeah, you know, it's also I use also Walking Disaster by Sum 41 is what I feel like sometimes my life has been up to this point. You know, and things like that as well, just because it just sums it up really well and things like that. But I love music though. Me and another guy I met, we had an hour-long conversation. This man was so impressed by the fact that I could just sit here and break songs down for him and compare them to other things. Like I love music. Music's a big part of my life. Like everything I listen to,
Same.
you know, it's just and I put a lot of playlists together, like how I'm feeling and things like that. I'll put them together and I'll post them for people to check out and try see what they think. And a friend of mine, she puts together ones too, and she's like, "All right, Pete, I want to know what you think of this." And I'm just sitting there doing whatever, and I'm just jamming along with the whole thing. She's like, "What do you think? You like this?" Yeah, I love it. You know, so I love it though. I think music is a very big part of mental health. You know, I've had a lot of musicians on the show. You know, getting their perspectives are interesting, and a lot of them, you know, some of them actually had a lot of mental health issues that none of us even knew about. You know, Lucy Lenore, for one, she is a part of a band called Haunter. She has like 500,000 downloads on the song at the time that we interviewed. She has BPD, and the way she was describing it was differently than, you know, "I better have this now," you know?
Mhm.
And, you know, on the other side of the spectrum, I had Bryce from Pretty Suspect. He came on, and he dealt with some of his own issues and things. It was interesting because you didn't know anything about these guys until then. I just enjoyed their music. I said, "Hey, listen, what's your thoughts on mental health?" And they all responded back, you know? And it's just so cool because I still keep in touch with them too. Lucy, I hear from all the time. She actually lives in the Houston area from me. So, you know, I
Oh,
talk to
nice.
her every so often. I check in with her, see how she's doing, and it's vice versa. So it's really kind of cool since doing this show, you know, and I've had my first 3-time returning guest, Melissa Kim Quarters, come back on, and she does a lot of shadow working. And me and her were joking about that. I was like, "Yeah, we got to get better at checking in on each other." And she laughs about it. She's like, "Yeah, or my assistant will email you back." And we're just laughing hysterically about it. But it's just so great since starting the show. You know, I got to talk to all these different people. I've made new friends of things, you know, all these other people that I don't get to see in person, but I still reach out to them all the time, or they check in on me and I check in on what they're doing and things like that too. So it's been pretty great though from the beginning. And, you know, I'm still going. Like this thing is booked till April right now of just people. And like when I say April, I
That's
mean there's like three
amazing.
to four people, 3 to 4 people on a Monday and a Tuesday because I changed my recording schedule to bulk recording. So like I have them right in that time frame. So, I've got a lot of demand and a lot of people that want to be on the show, and it just keeps building and building and building. I get emails every day of people that want to be on the show. I'm being invited to national media panels. I got one actually I'm doing next month, I believe it
That's
is.
great.
So I've gotten a long way from the beginning of where I started this thing. I didn't even know. Like I had no idea what I was getting into, and I've loved every minute of it. It's been great. Every time I hit record, I've met all these really cool people and things. So I really enjoyed having you here, though. This was fun. I really loved meeting you. Obviously, I'm going to share you out to a couple
Likewise.
friends of mine and things like that. Obviously, and things like that. So as we start wrapping up, I do have one last question for you, though.
Sure.
The whole reason I start this podcast. So the question is to you is that if you could break the stigma about mental health, anything that you feel like you just want people to stop doing, what would you say that would be?
Judging them before they really get a chance to hear and listen to what the other person has been through, right? Because it's not like, oh, that person's depressed and just thinks life sucks because that's just how they think. It's like, no, like they have faced some stuff and are working on battling through that. So really coming to that person with an non-judgmental, open mind and the ability to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think that's great. Well, Catherine, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you coming. You're more than welcome to come back anytime you like. I enjoyed our
Thank
conversation. I
you.
think it's
I'd love
great.
to be back anytime.
Definitely.
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much. Sorry, you've been bumped.
All right, I'm sorry. You just got kicked to the curb. One of our golden ticket winners wants to come back to the show. So, with that being said, Catherine, do you want to let everybody know where they can find you in case they want to reach out to you or reach out to, maybe they want to use one of your services? Where would you say the best place to find you is?
Absolutely. So you can check out my website and see all the different things I offer. That's eiplehealing.com. So EIPL healing.com. And you can also find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under Eiple Healing, EIPL Healing. So you can start conversations with me there. I'm starting to get more into TikTok and posting more there. But I definitely share a lot in my stories on Instagram. So if you're floating in between those platforms, you can find me. And all my contact information's on my website. So you can send me an email from there. Or you could even give me a text because I have my number up there too.
Sounds awesome. Well, thank you again, Catherine, so much for being here. I really enjoyed having you. It was a pleasure having you here. Like I said, you're always welcome to come back, And with
Thank
that
you.
being said, guys, not a problem. With that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of P for Anxiety. You know where to find me? I'm P for Anxiety. I'm on Spotify all the way down to Pandora Radio. I'm on X all the way down to TikTok. And as I always say, it costs nothing. Ask someone to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do could save someone's life. Or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete for Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?